Did the early church also believe that Jesus was God, or is that something that happened later on?
Yes, now Shabir will tell you this happened later on, but that's not correct, in fact. You can show that among the earliest portions of the New Testament documents are materials that refer to Jesus as God and pray to him as God, and they use Old Testament proof texts about Yahweh and apply them to Jesus. For example, in 1 Corinthians 16, you find the oldest recorded prayer of the early church, Maranatha, our Lord come. And this is directed to Jesus, in which he is called Lord. Moreover, they apply Old Testament proof texts to Jesus. For example, I think it's in the book of, I can't remember the exact prophet, so I shouldn't say, but in the Old Testament, it says, whoever shall call upon the name of the Lord will be saved. And Paul in Romans 10 picks up this Old Testament citation and applies it to Jesus. And this word Lord is the name for Yahweh, for Jehovah in the Old Testament. It says, if you believe in your heart that Jesus is Lord and that God raised him from the dead, then you shall be saved. And then comes the Old Testament proof text, for everyone who calls upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Other examples would be in Colossians 1, in Hebrews 1, in John 1. All of these refer to Jesus as God or as Lord. And they also offer worship to Jesus, regard him as forgiving sins. You can go on and on. An excellent book on this is by Murray Harris called Jesus as God in the New Testament. If you're interested in that, this is a very, very fine treatment of this subject, so that your worship of Jesus as God is right in line with the worship of the early church.
Okay, I'm afraid we're going to have to cut the questions off.
Do I get a chance to...
Oh, I'm sorry. Your 1 minute response.
Yeah, because Dr. Craig already indicated what my answer would be, but I'd like to give some more details on that. Because actually what he said would lead into my answer. Notice that the quotations he gave were all from the writings of Paul and one from the Gospel according to John. And my contention would be that Paul was a very important catalyst for this later developing idea. And the Gospel according to John, recall, was the last of the four to be written. And according to Raymond Brown, where the beginning there says, in the beginning was the Word and the Word was with God, that is said by Raymond Brown to be added by the redactor at the last stage, probably about 100 CE, about 70 years after Jesus had left the scene. So yes, I would confirm that this is a later development. If you read Acts of the Apostles, look at what the disciples were said to be preaching early on. They were referring in Acts 3:13 to God as the God of our fathers and saying that he had raised Jesus. So it's the God of our fathers had raised Jesus. They were clearly distinguishing between Jesus and
time
his
is
God.
up, Mr. Ally.